FSN Radio. It's all about what's next. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and sign up for your free weekly newsletter. You'll also get 3 free reports. The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.
Welcome. You are listening to the Financial Survival Network. I'm Kerry Lutz. It's February 26th. Just 2 more business days, 3 days in total left in this wild month. We got pandemics. We got gold prices skyrocketing. We've got the Dow crashing and world stock markets. What else can go wrong here? Oil for a brief time under $50 a barrel. And wow. So I decided it's a good time to check in with Charles Nenner, and Charles is a regular guest on the show. And Charles, it's great to have you back. Oh, by the way, his site is charlesnenner, NENNER.com. Make sure you go over there, and there's a free trial. Click the free trial button and make it happen. So, Charles, when last we spoke, you were predicting a major decline in the Dow. I didn't hear you talk about a pandemic, but now here we are. Dow has lost about 10% of its value. Stocks have taken a hit. Gold over $1,600 the ounce. In fact, today, as we're speaking, well, looked like it was going to take off, and then it got slammed. But right now, as we're talking, gold is $1,640 the ounce. Silver has taken it on the chin, back down under $18. You had a $2,500 per ounce projection for gold, I guess, coming in the spring, late spring, early summer. You sticking by that?
No, I didn't say that. I said that the real acceleration will start in the summer. It could take a year and a half until we're at 2,500.
Okay, so thanks for clearing that up. I misunderstood. Yeah. So it's really going to start in the summer. So you think we're going to kind of just straggle along here till the summer? We're going to see a kind of trendless market for the next few months?
Well, our last gold trade we went long at, we trade this up and down. Our last trade, we went in at 14.95 and we sold out yesterday because of the cycle top.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're standing aside and we're going to pick it up when the cycle bottoms in a couple of weeks. So actually, things are going very well. I mean, I'm very bearish on crude oil. My longer-term downside target is 36. We closed out yesterday and overnight the short positions on the S&P. We were long the VIX. We made an amazing of 500% on the options. The bonds were still long, and we're having a ball.
Yeah. Oh, that's for sure. So gold has been the performer. Silver has been the laggard. You think it's going to come to a point where it's going to vastly overperform gold?
Yes, in the end, but not yet.
Mm-hmm. So not yet. We have to be patient. So oil, petroleum, you said that has really declined, what you were calling for. You said nat gas. I think your target was 186 or 180. It's down to 177.
Yeah, we hit the downside target also, and there's a short-term cycle low. So we covered shorts over there. And we're seeing a little bit weaker dollar coming because the cycle is turning down. Again, for people who don't follow it, I have to explain. It is a mathematical formula, and of course, if you listen to the media, they explain to you why it happens, but they will explain to you after the fact, and we tell you before the fact what's going to happen and when it's going to happen. And of course, something happens. We said, we have zero long in stocks, and we're long the VIX because the VIX shoots up with volatility index when the markets sell off. The problem is I have to work against all this media who say buy. And for investors, it's very hard. And actually, I thought about it this morning. If you would have said to investors, 20, 30 years ago, you can talk and see somebody in Siberia on your phone without paying what you do with WhatsApp, they would think you must be totally crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't understand why it's so difficult for them to understand that there are computer systems that can calculate exactly what happens in the markets. In 20, 30 years, you'll be convinced that it is true. But in the meantime, you're suffering and you could have made a lot of money. And just in this field of science, people cannot accept it. I have no clue why that is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I totally agree with you. I had this discussion with my partner, Bill,
Yeah.
the day that they executed Soleimani, the Iranian general, the terror mastermind. That day, gold went up to, I don't know, 1604. It broke 1600, first time in 7 years. And I said to Bill, why do you think he did that gold went up? And he said to me, well, obviously because Soleimani was killed. And I said, yeah, I don't quite buy that. I think the cycle was prone, that it was primed, ready to go, and that's the excuse that they're pinning to it. But it was going to go to 1600. And I said, the proof will be when in several weeks it breaks 1600 when nothing's happened in the Middle East.
Right.
Because the cycle is going to push it higher. And sure enough,
right.
That's exactly what happened.
How do you explain that nobody seems to understand how this works?
Well,
I mean, people are working day and night in jobs that they don't really like. And if they will just take a couple of hours and rethink this and follow us, life would be so much easier. But they refuse to recognize that there maybe is a possibility that there's something to it. I just find it amazing.
Yeah, well, I honestly didn't know it till I started paying attention to the cycle. People like you, because I always thought the news influenced or set the price. I didn't realize that the price actually set the news. The market
right.
set the news. Right. But it makes so much more sense because once I saw it break 1600, I knew it was going higher from that point, and that was just the excuse that the market needed to go higher.
Let's take the S&P. Our upside price target on the S&P longer term, I said it's not going higher for the rest of the year, was 33.89. What was the high? 33.89. Well, that you cannot call that a coincidence, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then something happened, and then it sold off.
Yeah.
And still, people cannot conclude, it sold off because this and this happened. I says, well, isn't it too much coincidence that it happened exactly at 33.89?
Yeah.
But it blows my mind why it's so complicated to look into it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then when people look at it, they say, "Oh, it's a miracle," or "You're very lucky." Yeah. I always say I'd rather be lucky than smart, but luck can't be an investment strategy. You got to have some kind of strategy there.
FSN Radio. It's all about what's next.
Luminex Resources, ticker symbol LR on the Toronto Venture and LUMIF on the OTC, is a member of Lumina Group, the Ross Beatty company that has returned nearly 10-1 to investors since its founding in 2004. It's currently advancing a portfolio of large-scale exploration properties in Ecuador with 3 key assets and 2 world-class partners, Anglo American and BHP. With the decline in other sectors of its economy, Ecuador is aggressively nurturing its growing mining sector, and Luminex is a prime beneficiary of the new policy. If passed as prologue, investors should see outsized returns on the company's gold and copper holdings. For more info, go to luminexresources.com and make sure you sign up to get the company's latest notifications. That's luminexresources.com.
The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.
Well, yeah, my ex-partner used to say to clients, listen, he did this for 15 or 20 years for Goldman Sachs. They didn't throw him out, so he must know something.
Yeah. Yeah. But for, I guess, the large banks, brokerage houses to admit that all the research, fundamentals, nothing matters but the cycle, that's a big pill, a bitter pill for them to swallow, isn't it?
Well, it's a threat because then we don't need all these people anymore.
If we ever did need them in the first place. Got too many people in the financial sector, right?
No, but what they do is I used to have a firm in Wall Street years ago in the 80s. And I looked at all these people with their gray suits and the suitcases and everybody goes to work. And I said, the people don't know very much. They make up a whole story. Then they call the clients. And then the client says, I got burned. And then it says, well, okay, but we do it for the long term. So don't blame me because in 10 years, maybe the stock will come back. So what kind of nonsense is that? But they still continue to sell it. Really, I'm looking at this media. When it hit my target, there was not one person that said maybe we'll go down. And I came with these numbers and I showed all the small investors are totally invested, even on margin. All the big investors are selling. On whose side you want to be? But you don't get the media being negative because then people don't watch it. So they only want to hear people who say it's going higher, higher, and higher. There's not much you can do about it. I just make this point because some of your clients are now getting a research and are doing very well. And I just urge people, these are very difficult times. And just look at the research. You get it for free. And see if you like it and if you can understand it. Again, I forgot to say, if they mention it come through you, they get a big, I think even 50% discount. So it's worthwhile to mention that.
Excellent. Yeah. So make sure you do it. Right now as we speak, the VIX is at 26, right?
Right.
And if we look at its 5-day high, I think it hit close to 30, right? 29.56 intraday.
Right.
So
right, and we started to buy the April 15 calls for I think 15 cents when it was around 11, 4 or 5 months ago.
Seriously out of the money, huh?
Yeah, and we sold yesterday.
Mm. Well, hey, timing is everything in life, and people say that, Charles. They say it all the time, but they don't really believe it, do they?
I don't know. That's a good question. You're probably right. I never really thought about that.
Yeah. So, hey, looking forward to the Dow, the S&P, you're seeing more declines ahead, right?
Well, it's not so simple. Like we covered the shorts yesterday late or early this morning. And I wrote this morning, I said, if we have a monthly close, that's in 2 days, 3 days, below the following levels. And I don't have it ready. I think it was S&P 3080. Then the bull market is over. As long as we don't have a monthly close, that means it's not during the week. It can go lower, but on a month, if it doesn't close below 3080, the S&P, the bull market is still continuing. It doesn't mean it's not going to come down the next time. It's just going to hang around, make some bounces before the whole thing comes crashing down more seriously. So that's the level we're watching, and I think it's going to hold for the moment. Mm-hmm. And so, like I said, we sold the VIX long position. We covered the short S&P position. And we're watching the level of 3080 on the S&P.
Right. And so what do you do with gold? How do you play that since it's not going to resume again until the summer? What you're saying, do you buy out of the money calls on that?
Well, you have to do it. You see, the problem with buying calls is you have to do it when volatility is low and when nobody expects the market to go up. But then you need cycles because it doesn't look at a certain moment that the market is going up. So nobody's buying calls. When it takes off, you pay twice as much for the calls because now they're too expensive because everybody is going on a bandwagon and starts to buy calls. So that's why if a cycle is close to a low, it doesn't look like anything, and then you buy the calls like we did with the VIX. So we're just standing aside. We wait till the whole thing becomes cheaper, and just a couple of days before the cycle low, we go long again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, makes complete sense. And so how important is your timing that you catch this exactly right? Can you be off a little bit on your timing?
Well, there was done the research by Goldman Sachs. What is that? 15 years ago, by one guy head of department, and he came to the conclusion that if you give me 48 hours and 0.5% leeway, then I'm right 95% of the time. So that means is if I'm off 2 days already, even if it happens, I was wrong. So that's very strict.
Yeah, I would say so. So obviously you're better off being on the money, right on the money, but it's not always possible, is it?
Well, is there anything better? No, there is no better way of investing. I mean, what is it to listen to analysts what the virus is going to do or how you're going to invest? You need a system. You need a proven system. And you want to be with the system because most big firms are following it on Wall Street. If I would tell somebody, would you like to have a tip from, I don't know, Bank of America, whatever, she says, yes, give me a tip. If he says, well, Bank of America says you have to buy in 3 days, he said, that I don't believe. And that's actually what's going on. So you want to follow the big guys, and if the big guys are following the cycles, it's a good idea to follow that also.
Gotcha. So what else? What about treasuries? You've been kind of a treasury bull there.
I continue treasury bull. I see no real correction coming. It's like a cycle top and low, but the rates are still going lower. And like I wrote, if crude is going to 36 and interest rate, I think the 30 years on the all-time low already, and copper is not doing well, we're in for a big problem. This economy is going to tank. And my cycles on GDP said that we're going into a big recession, maybe a depression, and nobody saw it coming. But now they says, well, if the coronavirus is spreading, then we might have a recession. Okay, so now we know why they explain it. Only thing is you're a bit late in going into bonds, because the cycle showed already a long time ago you have to be long bonds, which almost nobody mentioned because everybody's talking about inflation. And I just find it amazing that I'm writing already, I don't know, for 20 years, no inflation. And everybody starts talking about inflation. And they're not embarrassed. Oh, we might have inflation. How can we have inflation? The economy is going to get weaker. I don't understand how they think, but people don't challenge those ideas. Show me why you think we're going to have inflation. Nobody says that. Show me. But nobody has to do that. You just throw something in the air. You're an expert. And you say, well, I think inflation is going to pick up.
Yeah.
So inflation is going to pick up and interest rates are going lower. And like Buffett said in the interview, I don't know what the consequences are if we have negative interest rates, which we have in Europe, if we have it in the United States. Even he and Charlie Munger said, we don't know how that's going to work out because that's the first time. So it's a dangerous situation.
Yep, I gotcha. It is dangerous. So you need to be very, very wary, and you really need to be ready for what's going to happen. So again, you can get a free trial. Charles's research. Just go to Charles Nenner, NENNER.com, and tell them Kerry sent you. You'll get a major discount. And hey, really appreciate you coming on, Charles. Again, any questions or comments for Charles, I'll pass them along. KL@KerryLutz.com. That's the email address. Twitter feeds @KerryLutz. Facebook page, Financial Survival Network. And of course, that's our home site, FinancialSurvivalNetwork.com. Charles, always a pleasure. Thanks so much for taking time out from your busy day and sharing your wisdom with us.
Okay, you're welcome. We'll talk again.
FSN Radio. It's all about what's next. Go to FinancialSurvivalNetwork.com and sign up for your free weekly newsletter. You'll also get 3 free reports. The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.